Are you ready to perform at your highest potential? Thank you for joining this GP Strategies webinar, where we'll explore best practices and innovative insights to help you and your organization improve performance.
Hello, and welcome to today's presentation on visualizing your data with SuccessFactors People Analytics. I'd like to introduce you to today's presenter, Mike Hoekstra. Mike is a People Analytics author, thought leader, and lead consultant at GP Strategies. He has over 20 years of experience in software and people technologies. Mike guides global HR teams on their people analytics journeys, and he leads SAP SuccessFactors reporting, workforce analytics, and SAP Analytics Cloud implementations. He also holds an MBA from Northwestern University, Kellogg School of Management, and a BSc from the University of Michigan. Mike, I'm now going to turn the session over to you.
Thanks so much, Kim. Happy to be here today. Hopefully everybody is having a good day or evening wherever you are. So I'll first start by mentioning an ebook that I wrote recently in conjunction with SAP Press. It's called Introducing HR Reporting with SAP SuccessFactors People Analytics. And it really is an inspirational introduction to the news stories in people analytics. It's a really good way to kind of get started with, a lot of information all in one place. So if you're interested, you can head on over to SAP Press to check it out. So here's our agenda today. We're going to talk about analytics maturity and data visualization. We'll go over some of the key features that are in stories and also do a demo. We'll do a comparison of stories to the existing SuccessFactors reporting tools, and we'll talk about GP Strategies People Analytics services. So first, let's talk about analytics maturity and data visualization. So this is an analytics maturity model that I've been thinking a lot about lately. As you can see, the focus is on increasing business relevance. So not just HR operational or even HR strategic relevance, business relevance. And this model, it's not meant to discount the important maturity tasks that are still very relevant, like clean data, having a single source of truth, having a team with the right skills, and implementing a data-driven culture in your organization. Now, certainly, COVID has radically changed how business works in 2020 and still into 2021 today. With that change, it is worth reevaluating your current KPIs and dashboards. Are they still relevant? Are they driving business decisions? Maybe you need new metrics and analyses to continue to move HR and the business forward. So this is certainly something to think about in the context of this maturity model. So let's talk about data visualizations. What is data visualization? A simple definition here. It is a graphical representation of information and data. So, of course, we're talking about like charts, different sorts of charts and graphs. It's not a data dump. It's not a lot of words. So certainly probably not a new definition to anybody here, but just starting off from the beginning with a few different examples here on the page. Now, what is the importance of visualizing data? We'll start with the stat that I really like. 90% of data transmitted to the brain is visual. 90%, it's quite a number. Certainly, when you think about words versus data, we all know, the old term, a picture is worth 1,000 words. But I think, these numbers, you look at them and it really makes you kind of understand, that number really tells you that text and discrete data points are not going to be effective if you're trying to persuade. The second stat there, the brain processes visuals 60,000 times faster than text. So not 60, not 6,000, 60,000 times faster. So certainly if you're in the business of influencing others with data, you'll definitely want to use visualizations. So what are some of the benefits? Certainly, of course, these stats tell you they're easier to comprehend. Certainly the goal of any analytics program is to identify trends and patterns in the data. So visualizations help you do that. And if you're doing it with the right metrics, it can lead to strategic insights. Some tips, there's a lot of good information out there, I would say, about building effective data visualizations. A couple tips I have here to add to that. Keep your focus. Don't add data if it's not valuable. If you imagine a dashboard that has a lot of different charts on it, it can be distracting. If you're attempting, if you're giving this data to an end user or trying to influence an executive, it can be kind of overwhelming. What do they look at? It might not be clear to what to look at. So that kind of leads to the second point as well, guide the user to the outcomes that you want when you present data. And, thinking back to the maturity model we just talked about, link your analyses to your business strategy. So let's shift gears to SAP SuccessFactors People Analytics. So what does SuccessFactors People Analytics include? So there are really three components to it. First one, stories. So stories utilizes SAP Analytics Cloud, enterprise sort of strength visualization tools with your SuccessFactors transactional data. And this will be the eventual replacement for table, canvas, and tile-based dashboards. Now, whenever I mention that, I always want to also say, SAP has not given us definitive guidance as to when the legacy tools will be sunset, but they are monitoring usage of stories, and I think it's safe to say, we're still years away from those tools being replaced. So I don't think you have to scramble and try to rebuild everything in stories in the next 6 months, but I do think this is a good time for you to start exploring stories to see what it can do. The second component is workforce analytics, and another common question I get as well. Now with people analytics, did that replace workforce analytics? Not at all. Workforce analytics remains, I would say, highly relevant. So what Workforce Analytics does in the data factory is they extract the data from your transactional system and transforms it. And so that it's easy to report on, metrics and dimensions are created, and it also allows you to easily do time trending analyses, something that's by the nature of HR data is difficult to do directly with your transactional data. And the third component is workforce planning. So with workforce planning, you can plan your workforce for the near and the long term with collaborative workflows and predictive forecasting. So those are the three components of people analytics. Again, the focus today is the first component, stories. I think this is an interesting slide that shows people analytics, how it fits in the intelligent enterprise. So the intelligent enterprise, you've probably heard of that from SAP. Here's exactly how SuccessFactors fits in there. I'll start in the top center. SAP Analytics Cloud is SAP's enterprise analytics and planning tool. So, what is enterprise analytics tools? I think of like Tableau, Power BI, and Click. So that is, SAP's tool in that sort of class of enterprise analytics tools. If you look to the left, you have SuccessFactors. So within SuccessFactors, you have stories, which does, again, it uses the SAC tools, but you're not in SAC standalone. An instance of SAC is basically included within SuccessFactors. And so you don't have to log into a new tool. It's simply right there within Report Center. But again, that is reporting just on your transactional data. And as you see next to that, Workforce Analytics, so you see the arrow from the transaction to the data factory. So that is the Workforce Analytics data factory that is taking that data and transforming it. And then you have reporting tools within Workforce Analytics to interact with that data. Now, there also is, I'm going to talk about this on the next slide, there is also a connector from both SuccessFactors and from WFA to SAP Analytics Cloud. So if you are an SAP Analytics Cloud customer, you are able to use those tools to interact with your transactional or WFA data. And of course, on the right, I didn't really talk about it, but as I mentioned, the SAP Analytics Cloud, the concept of an enterprise analytics tool is to bring data from all across the enterprise. So whether that's on-premise or cloud, you can bring in all of your data and then analyze it in SAP Analytics Cloud. Here are a couple kind of updates from the last few months for each of the components. We'll start with stories. So there is a content store now available for stories templates. The templates were released several months back, but now in this new content store, you're able to, right within Report Center, you are able to implement those story templates right into your instance. Second bullet, a query column limit has been increased to 120. It was previously 30, so if you've already been using stories, you know that 30 columns, depending on your report, that can be a challenge for some customers. So it's now 120, so that really shouldn't be an issue now. If you want to do some wider list reports, you're able to do that within stories. A third bullet, we have a lot of learning-focused customers on the call. Learning data is still planned to be within stories in this upcoming half 1 2021 release, so that's coming up in May. So definitely looking forward to that. Certainly, it'll be great to use those tools with your learning data. Next, workforce analytics. I did mention this a little bit earlier. There's an improved WFA to SAC connector now available. So you can take advantage of that if you're an SAC customer. And workforce planning. The future of workforce planning is within SAC planning, and we'll look forward for more information on that from SAP and from us. And I'm also planning, later in the year on SAC planning and how you can really use that for workforce planning and your enterprise planning. I'm pretty excited about this development, so looking forward to sharing more with you down the road. All right, so let's talk about some of the key features in People Analytics, and we'll do a little bit of a demo as well. All right, so why do we need stories? Why is it important? So several bullets here that I think are some really good points about what makes stories a really good offering. First, live connections across all SuccessFactors modules. So if you've been using the existing reporting tools, you know that it has been a challenge to do cross-domain or cross-module reporting. There is now a single data model for all SuccessFactors modules within stories. So it's definitely an important leap. Second bullet, based on SAP's enterprise reporting technology and strategy. So as we've talked a little bit before, talked about a little bit about SAC, this is some really impressive data visualization tools that are comparable to tools like Tableau and Power BI. So you're able to use these tools directly with your SuccessFactors data, and so it's a much improved experience. And on the strategy side, it is SAP's strategy to take those SAC tools and put them in all of their enterprise cloud applications. So that includes like S/4HANA, Fieldglass, Concur. So that is their strategy. Sometimes customers ask me, "Wow, this is a new tool. Will this stick around? Will this change in a couple of years?" I don't think so. I think this is a solid strategy, and I expect SAP to continue to invest in SAC, and I expect to see more features continue to come down to SuccessFactors. So I think you can rest assured that this is going to be a tool that's going to be around for a long time. More visualization options than you have today, custom calculations, dynamic filtering. I'll show you more of that in the demo coming up. Support for custom fields and MDF objects. So you really can do, more, as much or more than you can with the existing tools. So there's a good little summary slide. So now I am going to go ahead and share my screen, and let's do a little bit of a demo and look at some of those visualization options. Okay, so I am now sharing my screen. I am in the reporting tool. Within Report Center, as you can see, we have this story called Core Workforce Insights. And so what I like about this dashboard that we've created here, kind of a classic dashboard layout. You have some high-level numbers. As you can see here, we're focused on headcount. And then, as you go further down the dashboard, you see it broken down by different dimensions. So for example, headcount per business unit, reg temp, and contingent worker. So the other thing you have here too is you can have filters that the end user can choose from. So let's just say, as you can see, they're all legal entities are chosen right now, but I can simply unclick a couple of these. And then the dashboard updates. So this makes me think of, this gives the end user the ability to really interact with the data and zoom in how they want to. So when you think of, being a data-driven culture and data democratization, this really puts, the data in the hands of your end users, and it's not just a PDF of a dashboard. So if they have follow-up questions, they can dig into the detail on their own. I'm going to jump to this next one. And this one has a little more color. And what I like about what we show here on this workforce diversity example is, for example, female workforce in percent, 40%, and you can see that it's orange. So you have, you can set up conditional formatting so that if a value gets to a certain point, it can change color. And of course, this changes based on when they change the filter. So, and of course, that 40%, if you're like me, your eye probably, when I opened up this dashboard, went right to that 40%. So it's really an alert to the end user to say, take a look at this. This is something for you to know about. And, just a couple more. We've got a donut chart here, a little more color. We've got a heat map option here as well. So again, the visualization options are really, quite improved here. One other note is we have some text here, which maybe is an underrated element of what I think is a good dashboard. So what you can use text for in dashboards is to help the user understand what they're looking at or why it is important that they're looking at, and maybe guide them to understand what is important. So certainly don't hesitate to put some text, share these reports with different users. Make sure you're guiding them to tell them what's important. One more that I want to show you here. As you can see, this one's called linked analysis. So this focuses in on the linked analysis feature within SAC and within Stories and People Analytics. And so here's how this works. The idea here is that an end user can really interact with this dashboard in a logical way. So they might say, hey, okay, I see best run UK here, 66. I just want to look at all this data for UK. So when I click on that, you can see that the UK bar here is sort of illuminated, or it's the only one that's the bright blue. And the rest of these components or widgets on the dashboard have refreshed to just be UK data. So you can see here, everyone here is UK in the detailed list report, and these pie charts have also refreshed. So again, it's just another way for consumers to interact with charts, with your dashboards and stories. And I come back to this is it's kind of how you in a modern time interact with a BI system. So really nice functionality there. Also, this is another example, or this is also an example, I should say, of drill to detail, the way you can do drill to detail here in SAC and in Stories and People Analytics. By clicking this, Again, everything's refreshing, including your detailed list report. So that's it for the demo. I'm going to stop sharing that and come back to the slides. And so included in the deck that you receive, I do have a couple sample screenshots which are, are similar to what we just saw in that demo. So now let's do a comparison. So we've talked about stories. We've talked about how data visualization, how the data visualization options are better and improve from the existing tools. But you might be saying, well, we've built some of these in Canvas and we've built some tile-based dashboards that we like. I think we should just stick with what we have. Well, there are some details here that are important to know, and so I've shared them in a few slides here with you. And we're especially thinking, I'm especially looking at it through the lens of making good data visualizations. So let's start here with table or ad hoc versus stories. Of course, both. You can create a list report, but as many probably know, ad hoc or tables really not for data visualization. So you can't create a chart or dashboard. You can't even really create a calculated column if you wanted to. So table, simple data pulls, not for visualizations. Next, let's look at Canvas. So now you do have charts and dashboarding options in Canvas. Some customers don't know about that, but you do have the option to do that. You can do some drill to detail. You can do charts from multiple cross-domain modules. You can have multiple dimensions in your charts. You can use calculated columns. So there is a lot you can do with Canvas reporting. However, the experience feels a little dated, quite frankly. You cannot interact by clicking on a chart, as I just showed you in the demo, which you can do in stories. You can't view the filters that have been selected on a page. And in general, like I said, it's really a more modern experience in stories. So summary, while Canvas dashboards are possible, certainly it's a more efficient and modern visualization experience with stories. Next, let's take a look at tile-based dashboards. So tile-based dashboard, another tool, really easy to use, and I think straightforward to use, and I think it's pretty popular for that reason with a lot of customers. Drill to detail, you can do that in both. You can display tiles on the home page with tile-based dashboards. It's actually something you are not able to do at Stories at this time. I put that dot as yellow though because you can use, there is a reports tile on the home page, and the end user can choose their favorite. So you could create a story, have the end user label that story as a favorite, and then they would be able to access that from the home page with just one click. So you can interact by clicking on the chart, tile-based dashboards, and stories. But once you get into more complex data, that's where the tile-based dashboards fall short versus stories. So you cannot do cross-module charts. You cannot include multiple dimensions, nor you cannot include calculated columns. So in summary, tile-based dashboards do work well for simple charts, but once you have more complexity in your data or what you want to output, stories certainly can help you take that to the next level. So let's talk about how we can help at GP Strategies. We certainly support the full range of of implementing and developing and training with stories. So we can enable the stories for you, including IAS. And a word about IAS that has been a challenge for a lot of customers to implement. I will say that SAP has fixed some bugs, improved documentation. So it's certainly worth trying it again. Or certainly we have many of these we've done. So we certainly can help you do that as well. We have the expertise to deliver developer training. Also gap analysis support. This is something important as you move to stories. You've probably, many customers have created hundreds of reports in the existing tools. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you should create hundreds of stories that are just one-to-one moves from the existing tools. So we can certainly help you understand your existing reports and, think about what is the most efficient way to recreate those in stories. And there's the efficiency of recreating them, but also even the efficiency of viewing them and using them going forward for your end users, right? Your end user might need multiple list reports to get something done. Maybe they need one dashboard now. Maybe there's some efficiency gains there. And of course, we also can, if you have requirements, and we can certainly create dashboards or stories for you as well. So those are our services specifically to stories and people analytics. But the other thing I want to talk about too is what we call full spectrum people analytics. And so, a tool like stories, like I said, I'm a big advocate of it to really bring great data visualization to your transactional HR transactional data. But if you think of the big picture of people analytics, there's more you can do. Maybe you want to bring in data from other HR systems, or bring your HR data with other data in the enterprise, or even data external to your organization to do additional analyses. That's certainly part of a lot of organizations' people analytics programs. So we definitely provide services around full spectrum people analytics. And we recommend a 4-step process to build out your people analytics program. First, strategy. Step back, think about what you want to measure in the next 6 months, 12 months, 3 years, and beyond. Focus how you can demonstrate business value and strategic insights. Then step 2 is to create a system roadmap to support that strategy. And part of that is thinking about your organization's existing systems. You may be able to utilize some of those to build out. And you may want to, there are a number of different paths to go, certainly. Part of that could be using workforce analytics or workforce planning. You may want to build an HR data warehouse. You may even want to acquire, another system. So there's a lot of options there, but of course link it back to your strategy to, understand what you want to do. Third step, create a human capital plan. It is certainly important to have the right skills to use some of these new tools or maybe methodologies that you're introducing. And don't forget about soft skills as well, including business acumen, storytelling, and influencing skills. Certainly the type of analyses that you're doing, if you're evolving from more operational reporting to more strategic people analytics, it definitely changes the skill set of the employees that you need to execute that. And then the 4th step is executing the plan. And realize it's not an entirely linear process or one big bang. Look to continually improve and keep generating insights along the way. Like you don't want to say, okay, we need to clean our data. It's going to be 6 to 9 months until we can, generate some strategic insights. You need to continuously, be aiming to generate strategic insights from day one. And that's it. Any questions?
Great. Thanks, Mike. It was a great discussion that you had, and we covered a lot. So I do have some questions that we can go over, and hopefully you'll be able to help us out with some great information.
Sounds great.
Okay. So I have a question. Question 1, we tried implementing IAS a while ago, and it wasn't working for us. Is there any suggestions?
Good question. Yeah, I touched on this a little bit during the session, but IAS has been a challenge for a lot of organizations. You're certainly not alone. I will say a couple things. If you did it a while back, a couple of things that have changed. First, SAP has cleared up some bugs, but they've also really improved documentation. So look for documentation out there on the community, or reach out to me if you're not able to find it. I'd be happy to help out. I certainly encourage you to give it a shot so that you can start using stories and exploring the capabilities.
Great. So this question is, when learning is available in stories, will you be able to create cross-module reports such as with EC plus learning data?
Good question. Our understanding as to what is coming out in that H1 2021 release is that you will only be able to report on learning. So you won't be able to do cross-domain yet, but of course that is certainly the plan coming in the future. But yeah, it sounds like right now for H1 you won't be able to do that yet.
Okay. Will there be any migrations from current reports into stories?
Good question. So the answer is no. And the reason is, the data model has changed. You went to kind of different data models from the different modules to a single new data model that Stories uses, so it's not possible to do those migrations. But as we talked about, so that brings me to the importance of that gap analysis that we talked about. Being really thoughtful on making sure you're recreating reports that people are actually using, and so that is certainly very important to consider.
Okay, great. Next question. What is the difference between story and a normal table or Canvas report? And I think you went over that a little bit.
We did go over that a little bit. Yeah, hopefully that made sense what we went over. At a high level in general, I would say, the story really can provide you much improved data visualization tools, which are really not possible with the existing tools. And it's really a more modern BI visualization experience is how I like to say that. So certainly I think customers are people that maybe have used similar tools like Tableau and Power BI elsewhere in the business kind of have now an expectation that HR should also provide a similar visualization experience. And so now you're able to provide that experience with Stories and People Analytics.
Great. Okay, so one final question, and then we'll start wrapping up. What is the need to integrate with Qualtrics? And please share the business case if you have one.
Sure. I would say I think Qualtrics is on the roadmap to be integrated within People Analytics. You'd have to look to SAP for specifics on that. As for a business case, thinking out loud a little bit here, I do think it is compelling to bring in, say, pulse survey data and kind of see how, your employees' kind of feelings and, their reactions to that in that survey data, how that might translate down the road, right? Whether that's promotions or performance or even voluntary terminations. I think would be compelling to see, how kind of that employee pulse actually influences outcomes down the road. Okay,
great. I think that's about it for today. And I want to thank you again, Mike, for your time and attention. And there was a lot covered today during the session, and hopefully you'll be able to continue the discussion outside through social networks or through reaching out directly. On the screen right now is Mike's contact information, and if you would like, please feel free to reach out to him directly. And again, thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Kim, and thanks everybody for being here and asking good questions. I certainly enjoyed it. Have a good rest of your day.
Have a wonderful and productive day, everyone.
This webinar is brought to you by GP Strategies. Together we can create a world where business excellence makes possibilities achievable. You can access more webinars or download additional resources at gpstrategies.com/resource-library.